What is going on, guys? It's the Mad Dragon coming at you today with some actual international rugby news. Didn't think I was going to be doing that today. I thought I was going to be talking about the Superbru and setting up all the leagues for the summer internationals. But we've had our first two teams announced. So hey, we're doing a preview video. I'm going to go over the team announcements, give some reaction, have a run through the players, give some thoughts and some opinions on how we think this game might end up going. I've got a feeling it's going to go very much one way, but we'll dive into that in a little bit. If you enjoy this video, make sure you hit the old like button. If you enjoy your rugby content, of course, hit subscribe. And I guess I'll round up some of the Superbru news into this video as well, because it looks like this is what we're doing today. So, Springboks versus Wales. Already announced today, wasn't expecting this, thought that we maybe get this Wednesday, thought maybe Thursday, but this is a little bit earlier than expected. Two teams I really enjoy talking about, right? When it comes to the channel and I actually talk about doing videos and rugby and stuff, I really try and be unbiased. I actually try and give really honest opinions, positive and negative, about almost any team. I'll just be me and talking about it. But outside of the channel, I am a Wales supporter. I've been enjoying watching Wales play. It's got a little bit harder recently, not going to lie. They've not been doing particularly well at almost any level of rugby. But the Springboks is a team that, if you go back about 3-4 years, sort of just after I started making the channel, I knew nothing about South African rugby at all. They played in green, and I could probably name you about 3 players. And over the course of having this channel, it's been a team I've really enjoyed learning a lot about. We had the Lions tour going over to South Africa. That was a big, shift up and trying to learn a little bit about South African rugby. I did videos with the Rugby Guru, a South African rugby YouTuber. We've done the Wales tour of South Africa, and South Africa are a team that always come back up. The channel actually has a massive South African subscriber base, which I think is awesome. I never expected it to get there. But Springboks versus Wales is a game that in the past I really dislike this game, not because it's ever a bad game, because it's a game that Wales never win for one, but it's also just such a tense game. They're always so tight. It's always down to like a kick at the end of the game. It's whoever gets a kick at the 78th minute is whoever manages to win this one, and it's always a Pollard or a Stain that manages to get it over. South Africa are just able to just always pip this game. In the last year and a half, 2 years, it's got away from that a bit now, and it has turned a bit more into there is just very clearly one dominant team, and Wales. That's unfortunately where it's gone to. So I've started enjoying this fixture slightly less, but I still enjoy talking about the teams. Now, Wales did get a win against South Africa. In South Africa, it was their first ever win. It was Wales' tour of South Africa. They got one game out of the 3. I went a little bit against the grain on that one, because to me, Wales basically beat like a C team South Africa. I don't know, B team, C team. It was not a full starting South Africa team. It was their first win in South Africa. It was like the best Wales had at the time versus South Africa B/C. They did get the win. History made. I went a little bit against the grain. I was like, okay, but that's not the big news to me that it was for a lot of other people. South Africa dominated this game, and then of course we got to see the game last year, just before the World Cup. In the World Cup warm-up, South Africa came over to the Principality and hammered Wales, and we all saw it coming. I put a good chunk of money on South Africa to take that game, because Wales just really don't seem at the minute to be able to cope with this South African pressure. Now, of course, we're going to run through the teams, but I expect this game to go kind of similar to how we saw in that Principality match where South Africa absolutely dominated. I assume because South Africa will be riding high off the World Cup, and they've their teams have been doing okay in the URC. I was expecting South Africa to actually put out a really sort of newer team, a lower cap team. I was expecting them, if there's a game you can probably get away with putting a lot of new lads on and trying some new things, I thought the Wales fixture would be really good for South Africa to do it. But in actuality, they've not really done that. They've gone for quite a high level of experience and then a bit of a smattering of the new boys. So a win is probably still looking on the cards, so that's the mentality they're going for. Sorry, it's also slightly askew. That's the graphic they've given me. It's slightly on edge. I can't seem to rotate it around, so we're going to read it slightly diagonally. But there's only a couple of new names for me to sort of cover here, but otherwise in this, it looks like a really solid team. 10 of these lads involved in the World Cup final. That's a pretty big South African team, right? So they've gone much bigger than I expected them to. I thought they'd maybe shift it down a gear, especially with some of the issues Wales have got going on. We'll get on to that when we talk about the Wales team. But starting out in the front row, Oxenchae, Malcolm Marx, and Vincent Koch. Now, I did think that Marx was out. I don't know why I had him out of this fixture. In my own head, something has told me he wasn't going to be able to play this opening game. I'm wrong. He's back in, and for me, I rate him as the best hooker in South Africa. I think he's phenomenal. So I'm glad to see him back in from a rugby standpoint. From a Wales standpoint, terrible. You never want to see Malcolm Mark in there. But I think he's superb. Oxenchae getting in there, I think, is a really nice call as well. I think there's a really strong front row there. Interesting to see that Vincent Koch has got the nod ahead of Frans Malherbe, who's on the bench, because he got a lot of positive praise from me and from a lot of people across the World Cup. Frans Malherbe was having a really good job. So nice to see that Vincent Koch getting a step up here. I think the scrum is certainly an area Wales are going to struggle with. The Ospreys at the minute have been the only Welsh region team that I've seen that has been like, okay, these guys are up for a scrum. And yet, though, when we came around to that team announcement, there wasn't a great deal of Ospreys. I was looking forward to seeing Nicky Smith in this Wales team. Not to be. So we'll have to see how the scrums get on at that game. In the lock department, Ebenezer Franco Mostert. No messing about. That's what you want. That's a solid line-out. Line-outs again for Wales are an issue. They were an issue in the World Cup, the Six Nations, just everywhere. They've always been an issue, and they're also going to be missing players as well. That's a solid line-out. That's just going to give you the platform. I think what they must have gone for here is put big names and key players in some of those positions where they feel like they just want to control the game, and then they're going to let some of the lower cap lads maybe explore some of the wider fringes and stuff. I think that's a really nice lock setup. I think that's probably going to be the dominant lock setup of the game. Back row, Quagga Smith goes in alongside of Peter Steph du Toit and Evan Roos going in the number 8 shirt. Peter Steph du Toit getting captaincy, which is nice to see. Now, Quagga Smith, I'm really glad to see. He's one of those guys that is in this South African team. I want to see him play every game. I think he is phenomenal. He always on the bench. He always comes on from the bench and makes a massive impact from the game. He just plays anywhere you want him. He just doesn't care. He'll just get in and have a phenomenal game. I'm so glad to see him starting playing in that number 6 shirt. Looking forward to see how he gets on. 1 through 8, strong, very, very dangerous pack. Like I said, I think scrums, I think all the set piece areas are going to be really hard foot battles. It'd be interesting to see how some of the Wales lads will get on against that South African team, because this is a big old team. In the halfback partnership then, Fafter Kluk going in alongside of Jordan Hendrickse, who, wow, there's a new name for me. Now, Fafter Kluk getting in there, I did think scrum half might be the area they could maybe look at someone slightly lesser capped maybe coming in there. Jordan Hendrickse coming in there. This was a bit of surprise to me. There's a lot of talk I've seen on the South African rugby pages and just online on Twitter. A lot of people talking about that fly half shirt and where they want to go. A lot of people are still not very happy with Manie Libbok, especially surrounding his kicking. Now, I haven't caught every game of the URC. I've caught a few more games of the URC this year. And I don't know if I've just happened to have cherry-picked the exact right games I needed to. The games I did see, like I said, I saw the Ospreys versus the Stormers. I saw another Stormers game as well, and Manie Libbok's kicking was on point. He had some phenomenal kicks that they got really good shots right from the touchline stuff. And I remember watching it, going, "Oh, maybe he's fixed the kicking thing. This would be great for South Africa." But South Africa supporters seem to say he's still nowhere near good enough. So maybe I've just watched the wrong matches. So Jordan Hendrickse getting a look at it. I'm looking forward to see how he'll get on. One of 2 uncapped players in the starting 15. The thing that I do think Manie Libbok offers though is the gameplay making side of the 10. So that'll be an area for you to see how Hendrickse, catches up against him in terms of that open play. Will he have that same level of impact? Centre partnership, Andre Esterhazen and Jesse Creel. I can imagine a lot of people wanting Damien Dialende to start this one. He is on the bench. I like the idea of Andre Esterhazen. I think he is going to be a guy going forward. You'll probably be seeing a little bit more in that centre partnership. Jesse Creel, again, another one. People still really 50-50 on him. I thought he had a really good World Cup. I think he deserves to be there. So many more caps than I thought he had. I don't know why. I thought he was maybe in the mid-20s. 68, apparently. Jesse Creel's on, is he? I had no idea he was anywhere near that number in terms of caps. But I thought he had a good World Cup. I think this is a nice pairing. It's a very hard running centre partnership. That's going to be a tester for Wales to deal with just all throughout the day. You know, one-off passes, and you just let those boys crash into you. Andre Esterhuizen's going to just, you know, he'll make those meters through that initial break. Jesse Creel, once he breaks the line, he's a very, very fast lad to start. I think it's a nice centre partnership to put together. And then in the back three, Makazole Mapimpi, a name who I feel like we haven't said a great deal for a good while. Edwil van der Merwe on the right wing, and Afilele Fassi going in the fullback shirt. Now Van der Merwe coming in, another uncapped player, plays over the Lions, I think, right? He's but very similar style to your Cheslin Colby, your Kurtley Arendse. He's quite a small stature guy. He's got the scrum cap on. He's very, very, very pacey coming in. I believe there are injuries to both Colby and Arendse, so there'll be an unfortunate couple missed there, but I think this is a good chance to, you know, get yourself involved in there. You know, I'm Mapimpi back in. Who doesn't love a bit of Mapimpi on the wing? Always a dangerous winger. In replacements then, a couple of new names here. Apologies again for pronunciations. One thing that we do have on the channel, which is really nice, we have some great South African subscribers who do help me out with some of the phonetic spellings, because there's a couple new names in here, and I'm probably going to get them wrong, so don't take it too personally. I'll always try my best, but yeah, if you have some phonetic spellings to help me out, always useful. Bongi Umbanambi going in the replacement hooker position. Machunu and Frans Valherber going in there in the replacement front row alongside him. I think it's you know, certainly a good replacement front row coming on. Bongi Umbanambi's throwing was an area for me that was a little bit concerning for them, but you know, coming from a Wales standpoint, there's, you know, not a lot you can say about that as well. To be fair, the line-out situation might be a bit of an issue. Be interesting to see how he gets on in that second half, but I think Frans Malherbe coming on for that bench, especially in the scrum time, going to be a big impact. Rest of the placement forwards, Morat and Ben Jason Dixon, who's the another uncapped lad coming into this time. Morat's on 3 caps. I've got to be honest, I can't think of the other games where I've seen him. There's a lot of games going on last year, guys, with the World Cup. Some of them are going past me. And then replacement backs, Grant Williams coming in alongside of Sasha Feinberg, Umgona Zulu, and Damon Dialende. And hopefully I got 22's name. Slightly, you're right. That's going to be one I'm going to have to watch a couple of games of over the course of this summer internationals, and hopefully get my pronunciation worked on a bit. So a bit more of a sprinkling of some new boys on the bench. I'm kind of hoping that maybe we get to see, you know, a strong 40 from this team. Maybe they start racking up those points early on, and when they feel like the game is probably already beginning to get away from Wales a little bit, that's where you're going to see these lads come on. I'd like to have them have a bit of time on the pitch, because I really feel like this is a game where you absolutely have the ability to exploit some of those new lads, get them some game time on the pitch in an international stage. Moving on then to talk about Wales, because I rant a lot, and this is already going to be a long video, because it's already going to be. I also didn't mention we're playing at Twickenham. This is South Africa. I did as the home team because South Africa are classed as the home team for this one. South Africa are playing all of their home games in Twickenham, which is probably a positive, I guess, from a Wales standpoint. You'd probably rather play in Twickenham than go over to South Africa to play, because the home defence for South Africa is fantastic. But playing in the Principality didn't seem to matter before the World Cup. So we're playing in Twickenham. That's why South Africa are classed as the home team in this game. In the Wales team then. Now, I saw the team sheet got announced for the squads. There were some big names missed off, and it's been condensed down even more because this is like one of the sort of games outside of that club region window. A lot of players have been locked out for Wales from playing this game, so a lot of changes have had to come in. 4 uncapped players coming in, and a couple of other players around there as well. You're thinking, is this necessarily the way you would have had a look at this team? But we'll have a bit of a run through. Starting out in that front row, we've got Thomas Lake and Thomas too. We've got 2 Thomases in that front row. Now, one thing that I did say during the South Africa one was Nicky Smith not getting into this team. And every game I'd seen of the Ospreys this year where Nicky Smith was involved in the scrummaging, I thought he was doing well. I thought his scrummaging has been really on point, and I was very surprised to not see him get named in the squad at all. And then a game like this, going up against South Africa, I thought, you know, scrummaging is one of the areas you really want to compete at. You really want to take them on. I thought Nicky Smith might have been a good call. They've gone for Gareth Thomas there. He's still going to get involved with those scrums. But of those 2 front rows, I'm certainly looking at that South African front row is maybe looking to be the more dominant, as is probably this other area. Ben Carter and Screech going in the lock department. Certainly a bit of a toss-up of caps from the South African side to the Wales side. Again, if I'm coming at this from a Wales standpoint and what they're doing now, you haven't got players available. We've had a lot of players go out with retirement. You're not playing at home. I don't think a lot of people are expecting a great deal to come from this Wales team. I doubt many people are expecting an actual Wales win, if they're being completely honest with this. So you've not really got a lot on the table. You might as well go out there and test some new things and just push yourself against it. And for some of these lads, especially in this lock department, you're going up against World Cup winners in the lock department. Get yourselves involved. Get yourselves in that line out. Contest for every single line out. Make a bit of a nuisance to yourself. Try and put yourself in there. It's about as good as it gets. So, I'm really hoping those boys step up there. In the back row, Plumtree, Botham, and Aaron Wainwright. Now, Aaron Wainwright has been coming into his own in the number 8 show, which has been really nice to see. The Wales back row is probably one of the only areas across the Six Nations that I was actually quite happy with. There's a couple of players now that are really, putting their hands up. It's a shame that they can't sort of spread further afield into some other positions, because the amount of people putting their hands up in the 6, 7, 8 combination is really looking good. Aaron Wainwright going in that 8 shirt again. I think he's been actually playing very well, so I'm glad to see him there. Tame Plumtree's one of those ones that's got a lot of talk about him at the minute. I've not quite been sold on him in the Wales team. I haven't quite seen the spark that a lot of the sort of news broadcasters are talking about. Hopefully he's going to prove me wrong. Maybe we'll get 3 tries in this game and he'll absolutely prove me wrong. In the halfback partnership, Ellis Bevan and Sam Costello going alongside each other. Bevan coming over from, he's the Cardiff scrum half, going to be making his debut. In at 9, mixing it up a bit, Gareth Davis on the bench in that 21 shirt, but, hey, why not? Have a run out. This is a, big chance for some young lads to get in here. Sam Costello going in at 10. I've still, again, not quite settled on Sam Costello. Johan Lloyd seems to have sort of fizzle out somewhere in Gatland's plan. I think he put a lot of stock in Johan Lloyd going in there, and hasn't really paid off for them. So be interesting to see how Sam Costello's going to hold up, because South Africa really do punish 10s. There's a lot of box kicking and just tying up your 10 and really not allowing you to control that team. So we'll see how they get on there. Centre partnership. Mason Grady going in at 12. Owen Watkin in at 13. Now Mason Grady, I've been seeing him play over at Cardiff. He plays over on left wing with Cardiff, and he's been scoring quite a few tries. And actually, in terms of, conversion rates, percentage of getting over scoring tries, actually been getting quite a few tries. I might have looked at putting Grady out on the wing. Warren Gatland does this where he's putting people not really in positions where they are more used to playing. Mason Grady can play centre. He came onto the bench in the Italy game. He came on from there and made an explosive impact. Great to see. Playing at 12, I'm wondering how they're going to utilise him. I'm not sure if they're going to do the crash ball 12. Maybe they're hoping a bit of a matchup versus Esterhazen, just size, units, going into each other. One thing that does sit with Mason Grady for me is I've seen quite a few people when he's playing out on that wing just sort of run around him and just sort of make their way past him. The defensive side for Grady for me has been a little bit questionable. And especially some units like, Andre Esterhazen, who's going to just charge you with full power, little offload, Jesse Creel, bang, he's away. That is an area I'm slightly concerned about. Owen Watkin, defensively, I have a little bit more stock in. I do like Owen Watkin in that centre partnership. Now, someone not in this team is Ben Thomas. Now, Ben Thomas was a player I didn't know a great deal about. Apparently has been capped. I genuinely couldn't think of what game it was. But I saw the Cardiff Ospreys game, and Ben Thomas was playing at 12. Had an okay game at 12. The commentators were absolutely all over the place. They loved how the game was on at 12. I thought he was doing okay. They had no replacement on the bench for a fly half. Fly half went off. He slid into 10 from 12, and I think for me had a better game at 10 than he did at 12. Supporting plays, his kicking towards the post was great. And I was like, hang on, there's a guy here who is like a playmaking 12 who can also play 10 and also kick. It's like, is there actually a guy in the wings here for Wales who could be, some of the other teams you think, we've got like Smith and Farrell over at England, the idea of having like 2 10s working together, or you've got, New Zealand, Bowden Barrett, Geordie Barrett and Mo'unga, and they're all playing everywhere. Like, I like that idea. I like the idea of that being moved into Wales. He hasn't gone into the team. He was announced in the training squad. I don't think anything's ruled him out of this one. They've just gone for size defence. I might have liked to have seen Grady slide to the wing and had Thomas in there and maybe tried to test out the idea of having like 2 playmakers there, because I'm not sure if Grady's going to really bring that element to you. That might have been a bit of a switch up for me. And in the back 3, Rio Dyer, Liam Williams and Cam Winnett. So Liam Williams on the wing, where I'm very much prefer Liam Williams at fullback. Cam Winnett at fullback has been doing okay. For anyone who took part in the fantasy over the Six Nations stuff, not a particularly high scorer in terms of the stats and the things that he's doing, but just general graft. He's absolutely doing a lot. His backfield coverage is very good against a team like South Africa, who enjoy their kicking. There's going to be a lot of box kicks, getting in the air and being competitive in the air. Cam Winnett's certainly a good option. Having Liam Williams also on that wing, you've got two very good aerial catches, so it's probably not a bad move to have those two lads on at the same time to just try and mitigate a little bit of what South Africa are going to bring. And then on the bench, this is where this game I think is probably going to be a bit of an Achilles heel for Wales. So in the replacements, then we've got Lloyd, Matthias, and Azarati. That is a front row I'm slightly concerned about. I've had it about Domachowski and Azarati. I'm still waiting to see those boys really get to a level where I thought, a lot of other people are already seeing them at. I do think there are penalties given away. I think there's a few issues. I did see Squidge Rugby put out a thing about Kemsley Matthias coming in over Nicky Smith, and that Matthias is like the highest penalty conceder in the URC. Like, that's not really what you want against South Africa, who just go, let's have another scrum and do it all again and just get another penalty. So not entirely sure about that front row for me. I might have liked to have seen some different options. I think that'll be an area that South Africa will want to target. Rest of the placement forwards alongside them. James Ratty, who apparently is uncapped. For some reason, I thought he was already capped. Apparently uncapped coming into this one over in the Ospreys. And Mackenzie Martin coming in alongside him. And then in the replacement back, Gareth Davis, James, and Beetham coming in. So two uncapped lads as well in the backs as well. So, yeah, a bit more of an experimental bench. I'm expecting, if the game hasn't already got away from Wales by that second half and a few of these extra subs are coming on, I'm expecting that's where it's going to begin to go off. South Africa have also got a few less caps on their bench as well, so maybe it won't be quite as bad as I'm expecting it to be. But yeah, I think Wales could be in for a long day as this one, and as well as not actually having a home crowd behind you and whatever. I think it's going to be tough. What do we think in terms of a score prediction? What do we think? Where do we think this one is going to go? Well, I, for one, am going to back South Africa for this one. I just think that South Africa team is much bigger than I was expecting. I think it's obviously their first international game, right? So they're trying to gel back together a little bit. Wales have already had the Six Nations to try and merge their team together, but this just isn't the Wales team that was in the Six Nations. They're missing a lot of key players. A lot of people are shifting around positions. There's new players coming in. It's not really the same thing. So for me, I'm treating this very much as this is first game back, really, for both sides. I'm going to say a South African win. I'm still thinking heavy. Taking a look back at the last game, it was 52 points to 16 to South Africa. South Africa had a pretty loaded team for that game, so maybe not quite that high. I'm still going to say South Africa. I'm going to go by 25. I think that's where I'm going to go. I'm still going to go big for the South African team on this one in terms of my score prediction. What do you guys think? Drop it down in the comments what you think of the teams, any changes you would have made along the way. What about your own score predictions? And for anyone who is interested in signing up with the fantasy, because I might as well swing it into the video now, I have created the predictor. There is no fantasy, unfortunately. There isn't a fantasy for the summer internationals. I don't know why. I really think they could still build one. We do have one though. It is Mad Dragon Summer. The name is on screen for you there. I'll drop all the main codes and stuff you need in the description as well. I'll probably put out another post as well. And the code you need to find is vanetips. That sounds like an interesting term to be able to throw out there. But there you go. If you want the code on Superbru, you guys can get involved with the predictor series where you pick who you think's going to win by how many points. It'll be going throughout the whole tournament, and of course we'll be doing the sort of review videos on Monday. See you people's picks. We've already got 25 people in. I haven't even mentioned it's live, and we've already got 25 people in. So that's fantastic. If you guys want to get involved, you want to show more about rugby than me, get yourselves on there and beat me in the scores, because I'm not very good at it. So drop it down, guys. And hey, we're on to Summer Internationals. Feels so good because it feels like a long time since we've been able to talk about some international rugby, right? So I hope you guys will enjoy the weekend and get Summer Internationals kicked off. Of course, I'll try and do these types of videos for as many games as I can. Time is not as free as it once was on the Mad Dragon channel, but I will always try and get as many out as I can. Hope to see you all next time, guys. Bye-bye.